hikrivu, again, this music here, this like his mean, this is a number five verb. This is a causative. This is a hifil. So each of these, you have let me just say very briefly, you have the root of a Hebrew word, the three letters, most cases, three letters, sometimes two, sometimes four, but mostly three. And then you have these suffixes and prefixes and infixes that give you the information about what type of action are we talking about here.
Welcome to TaNaCh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of Learning Hebrew from the weekly Torah Parsha. This week we got Vayikra. This is week number, not episode number, week number 24 of 52. And I guess that says it all. I should do that each time. Make it a little easier for us, wouldn't it? So welcome back, everybody. And if this is your first time here, again, we're numbering all the Parshot for the entire year. This is week 24. So right in the beginning, we'll start off with me reading one line of each, the best I can, and then Rabbi. I'm going to start with Rabbi Teacher. My friend Ribeye. I like that even better. It's better than rabbit, right? Ribeye, rabbit. Well, I go down to rabbit.
Or ribbit.
Or rabbit. Rabbit, ribbit, rabbit.
This is going to go down a rabbit trail really quickly. So back to the text.
So yes, I'll do that. And then as I read mine, he'll come back and read his again, and the way you should hear yourself reading it as you get better. And then he's going to break down each word that has prefixes and suffixes and the root word on every line. And that way we can keep getting in that habit of finding those root words and knowing what they are. I'm looking at the wrong camera. That is your camera. That is their camera, and we're not going to edit this out because I just cleaned that off, and it probably looks better. Or I gave you a fingerprint. We don't know. So here we go. My friend Gavriel R.A. Sanders, most awesome Hebrew teacher I know, and he's going to take us right down a really awesome journey.
How many Hebrew teachers do you really know?
I know only 3, actually, but you are still the best one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not.
Good. Well,
another one of mine is actually a friend of mine he's like 34, 36 years old, and I want to keep this super short. He did Aliyah, learned Hebrew fluently, went to college there. He said he had to learn Hebrew just to take the college courses, and he's been doing it for so long now. He loves teaching Hebrew too. So, but he's not as good as you are. I was all in one breath too. So.
I'm sure he's fantastic and love to meet him sometime. So, okay. So thank you for your beautiful preamble. And we are going to jump right into the text. And then of course we'll have we have a comment from the email bag at the end and some applications and the things about the text. But first and foremost, we're just kind of following a reading pattern that I learned with a professor of mine when I was in graduate school many years ago. And so we're just really interacting with the text and drawing out from the text, more language related than application related. That comes later. And we're only doing a few verses at a time in here. So I want to thank also all the people that have been participating. I just have really impressed that several hundreds of people at least are watching this study that we're doing in Biblical Hebrew. So it's all yours. Let's jump into Vayikra.
Okay. I'll switch screens. That was the key for you, to switch screens.
Oh, you want me to switch the screen? Yeah, that's very good. I'm just looking
or
at the
just
text
be
over
really
my screen here going,
really still, and I'll try to read the reflection
good.
in your glasses. I'm not that good.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
There we go.
All right, here we are. Now, this is the Sepharia. You're going to use Sepharia to read it? We can. Is that what we always do? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we do.
Wow. I've got so many different Hebrew softwares, I can't remember what we use. Okay, here we go. So you can see my mouse down at the bottom here. I'm the white mouse. He is the little black mouse. So, Vayikra el Moshe Vaydaber Hashem. Of course, we say Hashem. Elav Me'ohel Moed Lemor.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Everyone was correct.
Sweet.
And so again, Vayikra el Moshe.
Use your mouse.
Vaydaber Oh, you want me to use the mouse?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Vayikra el Moshe, Vayidaber Hashem elav me'ohel moed lemor. And of course, we've said a couple times this has come up that why does it say lemor here when it's already said here Vayikra and Vayidaber? Does it seems a bit, we said this is kind of a biblical way of saying, excuse me, biblical way of saying quote.
Hmm.
All right. So, all right, the first word, what do you think is the shorish of this word?
Kara.
That's correct. This is the shorish of it. This is how you would find it in the dictionary. We've said in the English dictionary, a word shows up in the present tense. In Hebrew, it shows up in the past tense, and that is the basic root form. So kara would mean like he called or he read, both of those. And this one happens to be, again, this is that funny thing that the vav does. That this get if I just cover up the vav right here and you see yikra,
Mm-hmm.
that's future. That means he will call or he will read. All
Oh,
right.
nice, nice.
But this conversive or reversing vav here takes a word that's positioned in the future and throws it into the past. We also see the opposite take place, where a word will be written, given to us, presented in the past, but the conversive vav throws it into the future.
Okay,
You
I have a
say, that's
question for
correct.
you.
All right, go ahead.
So, the vav means and. Is there ever a scenario in TaNaCh where you'll see the vav conversive in the front and it's not attached to the previous writings? Like the word doesn't mean and,
Mhm.
meaning, that verse plus this verse. It just means it's a past statement. Does that ever occur?
It's a great question. I'll give you a Gemara kind of an answer, which is tzarich iyun, which means that needs research. I think that's it's a great question,
Okay.
and I'll look into that. I want to say theoretically, sure, but I'd like to come up with some proof of that.
Sure. Okay.
Um, Now, the fact that the vav is here, for example, when we studied the parsha of uh, Mishpatim, the opening word is Ve'eli HaMishpatim, and these are the judgments or the statutes, and that connects the parsha of Yitro or Yisro with Mishpatim, and so there is a connection here between the Sefer, the book of Leviticus. That's what we're starting into, even though in Hebrew we call it Vayikra and it's taking the first word. It's definitely connected to what was going on before. Now, what did we do? What have we been doing in the last several parshiot? We've been building the Mishkan, right? Or the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting. And so now we're getting into the actual usage of it. Okay, it's been built and it's been put up, and that's what all this is. We're going to talk more about that at the end, but that's what we're going into now. So there's a reason why this aleph is small, by the way. It's a small aleph. There are certain letters as we encounter throughout the biblical text. Some are larger, some are smaller. They have some significance to them. We'll talk about that at the end. So, and then he says that he called. Now, notice it doesn't give you the subject here. It starts out, and he called. It's
Mm-hmm.
inferred. He called to Moshe, and he said, now again, we have a case of the same thing. This is, if we just say, Yidaber, Yidaber, and usually that means he will speak, but the Vav here throws it into the past, which if a person hasn't learned the future tense in Hebrew, it can really be confusing. So again, we like to appeal to that nice website called Pe'alim. We've shown that in the past. So he called and he spoke. Now, again, that seems kind of redundant. Why doesn't it just say he called to Moshe? He called to him from the Ohel Moed, saying. Okay, so there are reasons why all these things are here,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them, by the way, the structure is really to get our attention and to make us ask questions, because Torah is not it contains history, but it's more than a history book, and it contains a lot of mystery, and it compels us to dive into those mysteries. All right, let's move on to the next verse because this is pretty straightforward. Unless you have any question here. Oh, well, let me mention this.
Okay.
We see here. We've said before that we have early on we used the acronyms for Moshe Kalev, Moshe and Caleb, as representing the seven letters which can be affixed or prefixed to a word. like we see with the vav here. The vav is prefixed to the front of a word, here and here. And here the mem is prefixed to this word ohel. And the word ohel means tent. And moed is, now moed has more than one meaning. Here it's used tent of meaning, but a moed can also be like a holiday.
Okay.
Like we say at certain holidays, a good moed, we say in Yiddish. So, but this mem here is saying from. So he's speaking to him. Who's the him here?
Mm-hmm.
Moshe. So the antecedent, or it's referring back to Moshe here. So from the tent, and he goes and says, "quote." Okay, let's go to verse two.
The moed right there, or moed, excuse me. That's not a prefix. That's just that's a four-letter
No,
word. Okay.
that's correct, and that again is one of the distinguishing features of Hebrew that can take a person a while to learn, because
Right.
you get used to one thing. You learn, like, for example, okay, mem means from, and every time you see a mem, your brain says from, but it's not. Okay, just as we've seen that with vav before and some other issues as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Oh, that's a long one. Okay. Daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem Adam ki yachriv mikem karban
Hmm.
lahashem min haba bahema. Sorry about that. Habahema.
Hubba, hubba, hubba.
Hubba. Min habakar
Uh-huh.
umin hatson
Hmm.
takrivu et karbanchem. Karbanchem.
Good. I see that your eyes are focusing more on this large kamatz down here
And I
as
missed
opposed to
that. Yeah,
this.
it's korban. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes. No, you got it. You got it
Okay.
here and you got it here. Here you can
Okay.
see the small kamatz, and
Right.
here you see the large kamatz. So this shows up, we said before, this shows up in some texts, some Sephardi texts, for example. They're very careful. Like if you look at it, open up a Sephardi Sidur, you'll definitely see it's always, they give you the large kamatz, and you know to pronounce it as an O versus an A.
Got
And
it.
we discussed this last week in the grammar section. Okay, let's hear it again. Daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem Adam ki yakriv mikem korban lashem min habhema min habakar umin hatzon takrivu et korban chem. All right, so now we saw up here Vaydaber, that says he spoke, basically, but now we're going into it's. Remember, we said that Hashem called and he spoke, and he's to Moses from the tent of meetings, saying, and he's giving a command, daber. This is a command form of the root. This is the root. This is the dictionary form. But he's saying here in a command form, daber. Like this is what we call imperative. To a woman it'd be dabri, and to a group it'd be dabru. So daber el to Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel, and we've discussed in the past about why this is where'd the mem go? Should be banim. That's the plural
Right.
for sons or
Right.
children. So we've talked about that before with Bnei Israel. Ve'amarta, and you are going to say to them, even though, by the way, this is in the past. If I take away the vav, amarta is past. You said, but the vav here
But would there
functions
be?
as
Oh.
it functions as an and it also throws it. Look at the tense over here. Okay, so he says it's inferred that it's going to be future. You will say to them. He's not translating it like this over here in this, but that's really how you translate it.
Now the
Otherwise, you'd
tav,
have to.
the tav at the end. Does that mean? Is that the imperative part that you shall?
No, this is you, masculine singular.
But that you, but you shall. That's implying. I mean, you do this.
Okay,
Right?
so let's talk about imperative for a second.
Okay.
There are
Okay.
two ways that Hebrew communicates do this.
Okay.
There's a very direct way, and there's a bit of a softer way.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe there's three ways to do this here. Let me think this through for a second. In modern Hebrew, we can either say daber, speak,
Mm-hmm.
or I could use the future form, you will speak, and say tedaber, you will speak. It's a softer way of telling someone to do something. Tagidli, for example, tell them, say to me. So you hear that a lot here in
Now,
Israel.
is tedaber with a tet or a tav?
It's with a tough.
So it's still using that tav in the imperative formula then.
That's right.
Just one's
So
before and one's after. Okay.
That's right. But now, when we look at the construction here, what's the shorish? What's the root?
Amar.
Aleph mem resh.
Yeah.
Okay, Amar. He said, and so this is present. If I take away the vav here, Amarta, it would be you said. But the vav here really puts it into implies you will say. That's not how they're translating over here, but that's really what it's saying. So you have to recognize that I'm using a different little, the bold Onkelos commentary from Mitsuda Press, a little different translation here today, because of a couple things I like in here. So basically, we're to speak directly to the children of Israel and say to them, or you will say to them, Alehem. And then it says, it's very interesting. It just picks out one person,
Real quickly,
Adam.
Can you go back to the Alehem just to explain that's there's no shoresha, it's just a prefix and a suffix, right?
Okay, well, no.
No, I mean at the very end, the last word on that line.
It's this word,
right?
Okay.
Oh, the two words. Two words. One word with the suffix.
It's L,
and then a suffix hem.
And suffix hem,
which
is them.
Thank you.
Them.
Okay. Moving on. Thank you.
So, all right. So if you know the subject pronouns, ani, ata, at, hu, he, etc., and then we come to the third person plural, hem. So this is what this is stuck on here. Again, there's a place to, in fact, if someone wants to write about prepositions, where to find how all those are developed, I have a nice reference for you. Just write me at gshebrew@gmail and I'll send it to you. Okay, now we come to a person, an individual. This is Adam, ki. Now, we've said about the word ki before. We've looked at it. It can have many different meanings, about 5 different meanings. So sometimes it means because, sometimes it means that, and sometimes it means if, and sometimes it means when.
Right? And these all fall in that Moshe Vakalov acronym thing you made, right?
No, you're on the wrong page there.
Oh, okay.
So
not I'm taking
specifically the word key.
No, I know, but remember the Moshe Vakalov thing that you came up with?
Yes, that's right.
With the mem, the bet, the kaf, all those are prefixes. This is more of a word, not a prefix.
This is a word. The word key. It's freestanding.
Okay, so it's not prefix. Okay, got it. That's what I wanted.
Right. So it has a little metag in here to connect it, but with this word. But so it's basically literally saying a person, okay, and generally a male, when he will sacrifice from you. This root idea here of yakriv has to do with either bringing an offering, making a sacrifice, or bringing something or someone near, because it comes to the word karov, all right, close is part of that root as well. So it says a person will bring an offering from you. So this mikem is the word from. So here the mem is there's a whole development. Okay, I can say something me, from me, or actually it's mimeni. It's because me would be who. Mimeni, mimcha, mimenu, from us. So this has a whole development to it, and this one is talking about you, plural, from you, all of you. So the person brings a sacrifice from you. It's a sacrifice to Hashem. Okay, korban laHashem. This is a noun now. Min ha-behema. So this is an interesting word, behema, because we have an English word, behemoth, right? So the English word, and it means like something that's really big. It's actually the Hebrew word behemot, animals. Okay, so it's one of those words that's leaked its way into the English language. So the person is going to bring this offering from all of you to Hashem, basically, from and it uses the word behemoth. Now, there's at least two words for animals in Hebrew. There's behemot and there's chayot. So behemoth are typically mostly like domesticated animals. I don't mean cats and dogs, by the way. I'm talking about, cattle and goats and so forth. That type of animal, four-legged animals.
Not not
And then and
not coyotes, not coyotes, but how do you say
oh,
that?
that's funny.
How do you say that word?
Chayot.
Coyotes. Coyotes,
Yeah,
not
chayot.
coyotes, but that's a good way to remember it, though.
Chayot. That is a good way to remember it. So I would not want to sacrifice a coyote. So, well, there's some bringing people across the border. Maybe we want to talk about that. Okay. All
All right.
right. Moving right along. Now it gets more specific. So it's just obviously it's a sacrifice that's coming from the animal resources, and then he says, "Mean." This is from. We say, "Well, I thought this here was from here," or we had up here, "May." This is from, and then here it's me, mikem. This is from a specific place. This is from you, plural, and then we come over here. This is the freestanding word. The word from can either be attached just as a mem
Hmm.
to the front of a word, or there is actually a freestanding word, min, that means from. And
Nice.
that's what we're seeing right here.
Just
Okay.
like the key as
So,
opposed to ka, the kafyud, just like the word
yeah,
key.
but let me back you up a little bit because when the letter kaf is attached to a word, it means as or like.
Right. But key
This,
means.
but this means that, it means when,
Oh,
it means
so
if.
they are different in the fact that they actually mean
They are
different things.
Yes, they do mean
Okay.
different things.
Okay,
That's
got
right.
it.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you brought that up though.
Okay.
Okay, so from, then it uses the word bakar, u mean hatson. So this is from and this is from. What happened? Why is the vav here changed to u? Because we talked about before, and you can go back and find it in the bump letters.
Yes,
A
bump. There you
bait,
go.
a
Oh yeah.
vav, a mem, a pay. Okay, so that's just it's like it changes the pronunciation, but it's still a vav, and it means and. So from the cattle, and this would be tzon could be the flock, all right? It's like goats and sheep are considered flocks.
Why the
Takri
dagesh? Why the dagesh?
here,
Yeah, in the middle of the tzadi.
it's a good question.
We can come back to it later if you want to.
Hatzon, yeah, that's a whole separate discussion we should have sometime
Okay.
about Beged Kefet letters versus ones that are not Beged Kefet letters that do take it that take a dagish. Basically, there's a dagish forte, dagish line. There's a hard and a soft. That's
Is
what
it
those mean.
almost like you pronounce it like pizza? Like got two Z's instead of one.
Hot. So yes, that yes.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Uh, yeah, you win the cigar.
Oh, hey, thank you. I don't
Uh,
smoke though. I'll take a glass of scotch
okay.
instead.
Okay, very good. Give me some Jack. All right. Takrib. So takrib, well, over here, we had the word yakriv. He will bring an offering. We're talking about the person here. Now, same root, takrivu. So this is future. You plural will bring. Now, without
Y'all.
the vav, takriv would be you speaking to a guy. This is masculine singular future of a hifil verb, number five verb that I call it, that will means you shall cause to. So that's the quality of a hifil verb, of a causative verb, is means you will make something happen. You will cause something to happen. Now it doesn't mean every word that's a hifil does that. That's
Okay.
one of the frustrating things about Hebrew. Not everything does. Not every verb that's reflexive is really reflexive. Not every passive is actually passive. Not every active is actually active. You have to know. You have to learn that. So it's because language is dynamic. We
Yeah.
want to put it in little
It's
boxes. All
kind of
right.
like the funny
Well, so
bone.
here,
The funny bone is never funny when you hit it. Same thing. Just because it says that doesn't mean it is what it
you
is.
know, you're just filled with country wisdom. I tell you, that's the reason why you live in Kingsland.
Oh
All right.
Lord, far away from everybody else, so I can kind of keep my thoughts to myself.
Yes, yes, like the great line in Fiddler on the Roof. May God bless and keep the Tsar far away from
Oh
us.
yeah,
All right.
I love that movie.
Yeah. All right. So takribu means you plural will bring near or you will offer et korbanchem. Now, this chem and this here, they're basically the same. This is you plural. This is you plural from you all. Hey, it fits right into Kingsland from you all. And this korban chem is you all's korban.
Right. So it'd
So
be
this works very well in Southern dialect.
offering yours, basically, in
Right,
literal
offering y'alls. Yeah,
y'alls.
that's
Yep,
right.
there you go. Cool.
Okay, so
Okay,
that's what
nice.
that. All right, so let's migrate on to the next verse.
Okay, good deal. All right. Im ola corbano, excuse me, corbano min
Mhm.
habakar zakar tamim yakrivenu, excuse me, el
Mm-hmm.
petach ohel moed yakriv oto lirdsono lifnei Hashem.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Very finely done.
Cool.
So, im ola korbanu min habakar zachar tamim yakrivenu el petach ohel moed yakrivoto lirtzono lifnei Hashem.
Now,
Okay, so
without explanation, go in here without explaining each word individually. Just say each thing in its pieces, like im, if,
mhm.
ola, offering,
Okay.
karbanu, y'all, whatever, and do that whole sentence like that, and then come back and
Okay.
explain.
You want to take 10?
Nope, take it away.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. So, yeah, you can see the translation over here, obviously. So, but let's just go word by word. So, if elevation offering, his sacrifice from the cattle, male, unblemished or pure or undefiled, he will offer it. This is not you all in this case. To the opening tent of meeting, he will draw near or he will offer it to, this word can mean appease. Here it says favorably acceptance, as accepted. It can also be read as appeasement before Hashem.
Beautiful. I love that.
Okay,
We'll
so
make,
it's sometimes people think that it's the same thought as English and the same syntax. Now, syntax is not a tax you pay for sinning. It's syntax, and syntax
nice.
in Hebrew the word is takbir. Takbir is word order basically, and not all languages use the same word order. Sometimes sort of the verb is at the end of the sentence. You don't know really what you're talking about until you get to
Right.
the end. And Hebrew also plays around with the word order. It's more flexible than in English. In English, we have something called SVO, subject, verb, object. But Hebrew is flexible. It could spin around. We could have VSO, VOS, a lot of different possibilities. And you see that in the Hebrew text sometimes.
Okay.
And that can be
Nice.
confusing until you iron it out. So let me just think if there's any other phenomena. Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk just a second about this word tamim, because it can be applied here. It says unblemished, basically. So the sacrifice that's brought as an elevation offering has to be a male that's unblemished. All right, so it doesn't have any things that would disqualify it, like a torn ear or a maimed a foot or something like that. Has to be complete and whole, and that really we'll talk about that hopefully at the end. That's what the tamim mean. But tamim in modern Hebrew can be like an ish tamim, which could be a person of high quality, of good character. And by the way, I'm going to do one thing that not to irritate you too much, but all of this here is intended to speak to us about us. That we are also to be unblemished. Was like, how can you do that? Sinners as we are. Um, and again, Yakrivenu, I mentioned that this has to do with his bringing it. And let's talk about this word here for a second, because again, it says he's bringing it to the opening of the tent of meeting. He will draw it near, or he will bring it near. He will offer it. Oto. You say, wait a minute, I thought Oto means him. Yeah, Oto does mean him, but it can also be it, because Hebrew does not have a neutral.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, it doesn't have a neutral pronoun like we do in English. We have he and she and it, and there are actually other languages that have what's called the neuter case. Greek is that way. I think Russian may also be. There are others. Um, so this oto, you say, well, okay, this is a masculine. It means you I can say he or it. What's it relate to? Well, it goes back uh, to the sacrifice that he's bringing from the cattle. So we say here korbano. So the antecedent goes all the way back up to there. Okay, let's see if we have time for at least one more. There's a short one here.
Okay. Okay, here we go. V'samach yado al rosh ha'olah v'nirtza lo lechafer alive.
Okay, beautiful. Nice and short.
Thank you.
V'samach yado al rosh ha'olah v'nirtza lo lechaper alav. So samach, v'samach in this case, this sounds like the word happy, but it's not. Okay, so sameach. It's
Oh, right.
all right. So you could your head could go, oh, but it's not because three of the letters, two of the letters are different. The middle letter is the same, like sameach, but this is a samech instead of a sin, and this is a chaf sofit as opposed to a chet. Um, so samach can mean in this case the physical laying on of hands. Okay, it has some other meanings as well. But in this case, we're talking about what's well known to most people that the one who's bringing the offering lays his hands on
Okay,
there.
so
So
so I have a word. I have a word trigger for you, for the viewer. But this works for me though. If it means like the laying on of hands, so samach, we like smack, like got smacked in the face. Smach. That might help. Okay. All right. Anyway, go ahead.
okay, um, but also when a person receives rabbinic ordination, it's done through the laying on of hands.
Smicha.
Smicha is what it's called. A person got
Nice.
smicha. So it's not just a piece of paper was issued, but there's a laying on of hands, as it were. So which is the imputation of authority that's supposed to go back to Moshe Rabbeinu. That line of, as according to most that I've spoken to, that particular line directly from Moshe for smicha was broken somewhere along the line, but will be restored with the future Sanhedrin. So, but in this case, the person bringing the offering places his hands, yado, in this case, it says his hand. So this is yado, his hand. That's what that O here is. It's a pronominal suffix in this case, meaning his. So he's placing his hand al upon, and the word al, again, has more than one meaning. It could be upon, it can mean about, it can mean concerning. So in this case, it's very literally upon. Rosh Ha'olah, head of the Elv is inferred, head of the um, elevation offering in this case. The word Olah has to do with going up, like people who are Olim, who
Mm-hmm.
go up the pilgrimages. Those are Olim, Ole Regel. I made Aliyah. I'm an Ole, made a new immigrant to Israel. And then it goes on and says Vinirtzalo. And so this basically means here they're translating favorably accepted from him to achieve his atonement. That's a little bit loose in the translation, but basically means uh, this is passive, means it will be accepted for him or to him, in this case for him.
So the knee,
To
what is the knee for? The v is and knee. Knee would be what?
no near tza.
Oh,
This is
that's
the
all
root
one.
right
That's all
here.
one word. Nirtza.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, gotcha.
But so the nun in this case, there are number two verbs
Okay,
they're called nifal,
okay.
and they mostly begin with a nun. Okay, especially in the present and in the past. The first letter is a nun. You say, well, I thought the nun at the beginning of a verb was we. That's true, except in the case of this category of action that's related to it's I call these number two verbs and they're coupled up with number one verbs. And what's the number one verb here? Ratza. This is the root. Ratza. What does that mean? Rotze. Mata rotze. What do you want? This has to do with wanting, desiring. All
Oh,
right.
right.
And so this means it will. It's not translated. It will be desired. That's a different word, different translation. In this case, the application of it to it in a sacrificial context is that it brings about acceptance. So basically, we say it's accepted for him. That's the way I would translate it. It's accepted for him. For what purpose? Lechaper alav, to atone. And I like the fact that this word kaper in Hebrew, you can almost make a case that it's related to the English word cover,
Like
because
the Kippurim, or the Kippurim,
the
yeah.
pay, or especially when if you take the dot out of the pay and make it an F sound, a fe, kofer, like kofer nafsho, an atonement for your soul. That's the way I've remembered the meaning of the word cover. That so you the fact that you're atoned for, you've been covered by the blood. Okay, all right, that's another lifestyle. Upon him or about him or concerning him, for him.
Okay.
Okay, we have time for one more verse.
Yes, we do. We're at 37 minutes right now, so.
Okay.
Okay, well, depends on, yeah, because we're actually going to have an hour, so that's like, we still got 24 minutes left. Okay, so here we go. Let me get rid of this. I was going to try something and see if I could do it. Okay. Let's see. All right.
My dear friends, hope this message finds you well. If you like the way this channel is going and the channel has been a blessing to you, please consider supporting the channel by going to the website, TaNachTalk.com, TaNachTalk.com. Thank you once again for your time and for supporting TaNaCh Talk. Shalom.
V'shachat et ben habakar lifnei Hashem v'hikrivu b'nei Aharon hakohanim et ha'adam. Hadam. Interesting.
Mhm.
Hadam. Okay. V'zarku et Hadam. Am I saying Hadam? Is it Hadam or Hadam? Is it a flow? Hadam.
Hadam.
Al Hamizbeach. Is that Cha'ach? I know you're going to comment on that here shortly. Saviv. Asher. See, I'm trying to work on that. I've been practicing in the car a little bit, but I'm not getting any better at it. Petach Ohel Moed.
Okay, beautiful. Well done. V'shachat et ben habakar lifnei Hashem v'hakrivu b'nei Aharon hakohanim et hadam v'zarku et hadam al hamizbeach saviv asher petach ohel moed.
Now do a word for
Okay.
word on this one like you did 2 verses ago.
I will,
real
sure.
fast.
All right. So this is he will. What do they pronounce? They slaughter, I guess here. Then we use the word shecht. Is how we say it in modern Hebrew. That, or if we're speaking in English, like there's a person who's called a shochet. He's the ritualistic slaughterer, butcher, basically, a shochet. So he will slaughter and here it says ben habakar, the
Son of a herd.
son of a cow. You Ben Bakar, son of a cow. Basically it's like a calf or a young bull in this case. Before Hashem, v'hakrivu b'nei Aharon, and now there's the priests step in here, and they will bring the blood. So it says v'hakrivu b'nei Aharon hakohanim et adam. So they will bring near, or they will. That's the best way to say it. The sons of Aaron, the Cohen.
So going back to Vahikrivu. So break this down like piece by piece.
Okay. All right. So we did this up here. Here we have Yakrivenu, and what else did we see here? That was Takrivu. So and the Yakriv. So we have Yakriv. He will bring near. He will offer. Takrivu, you all will bring near, or you will offer. Here it says, bring your offering. Here it says, Yakrivenu. It says, that basically means he will bring it.
So the yud
You
is. Oh yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. And then down here on this one, Vahakrivu, this is they will bring.
So the
Now,
hay.
if I take that now, I'll mention that.
Okay.
If I take the vav off,
Hikrivu.
hikrivu, again, this music here, this like his mean. This is a number 5 verb. This is a causative. This is a hifil. So each of these, you have let me just say very briefly, you have the root of a Hebrew word, the 3 letters, most cases 3 letters, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, but mostly 3. And then you have these suffixes and prefixes and infixes that give you the information about what type of action are we talking about here. Is this simple action? Is this intensive action? Is this causative action? Is this reflexive action? Or is it a passive of one of the first 3 that I just said? Now, we have an illustration for this that we're going to start showing along the timeline here as we do these moving forward. So this would become more visual for people that need that reference point. But right now, for those of you that already know this, the more advanced students, this is a hifil verb. This is a causative verb. It means they will, and it looks past. If I take the vav right here, I go hikrivu. If I say hikriv, means he brought near. Hikrivu is plural. They brought near. But I put the vav here, vav here on the front of it throws it into, that means they will bring.
Got
Right.
it. Okay.
And I tell you, it took me so long mentally to crack that code. So I'm trying to say it with enough repetition that people.
We need this. That's good.
Well, you need the repetition.
We need this. That's
the only way you're going to get this is with repetition. So it says, so it tells us right here, the Kohanim are the ones that are going to bring. But interesting, we talked about the syntax just a few moments ago. Word order. So look at the word order here. All right. It says he will slay, or he will shecht, he will slaughter. I hate that word. This young bull before Hashem. And then it should say, Bnei Aharon HaKohanim yakrivu. That's how it would normally be. They will bring near. But it says it puts the verb here first, and then it gives you the subject. And the subject here consists of 3 words. The sons of Aaron, the Kohanim. All right, the priests. So they will bring near, the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, et hadam. So there's a reason why et is here. We've talked about it before. It's a sign of a definite object. And here's the object. The object is the dam. The hay here is what's known as the hay idea. It's telling us the dam as opposed to just dam, blood. So they're going to take that. They're going to bring it near vizarku, and they will. Here it says they will sprinkle. It literally means they will throw. The word zorek means throw, and again, it's this vav is doing double duty here. It's but it's also taking this verb. If I just cover this over like this right here, zaraku means they threw or they sprinkled. Okay, but the vav inverts it or converts it, if you will, into a future. So here we have et hadam, the blood. So now they're bringing the blood near. They're sprinkling the blood. Where are they sprinkling the blood? Al hamizbeach, upon the altar. Saviv, around. Which, okay, asher, which, here we see it right here. Where is that altar located? It's at the petach, the opening, kind of the entrance is one way to say it. Ohel Moed. So the word petach shows up in Genesis chapter 4, I believe it is, when it's in reference to sin crouching at the door.
Mm-hmm.
So it talks about that's the first time this word shows up in the Torah.
Nice.
Okay, so I think this is a good jumping off place, since we're talking here about the altar.
Okay.
To that question that came up.
Oh yeah, good. I was going to say, yeah, we want to fit that in now before.
It's a good segue.
Go for it.
So let's
just go ahead and run into that. You can run into this now without any pause, and then we'll just do the pause for the Parsha commentary. Good. Okay.
All right. So someone sent me a question this week that really fits into where we just ended off here on the comment about Mizbeach. So from the email bag, the question from this fellow's name was Roger, if I can mention his first name. And he said, there is the word mizbeach, and sometimes it's mizbach. And he was wondering why it is that he sees it one way and the other way. He said, same word, but the vowel signs are different. Is this word always pronounced mizbeach, even if there's different vowel points? He said the first one's obviously mizbeach, but the second one is mizbach. So does the pronunciation of that word change with the vowel signs? And he goes on and says there's a related question. When there's chet with this patach under it, that's what that vowel sound is known as patach. At the end of the word, why is it backwards compared to the other letters with patach vowel sign at the end? For instance, in this word, it's mizbeach, but you don't know this. But if you don't know this idea, this rule, it would be mizbecha. And are there other letters that do that basically? And the answer is, yeah. So if I circle these two occasions of the use of the word alter, down here at the bottom, it's how it normally would be, mizbeach. But up here, it's noun plus noun. And that's why it's Mizbach HaZahav, just like we have Bnei Yisrael, or we have Torat Hashem. We've had a conversation kind of running on in at least two or three of our sessions about this thing called noun plus noun. So, and I in my answer that I gave to Roger, I said the first word for alter is used when it's standing alone as a noun, and that's what we saw down here. It's standing alone. Okay. So, or it's paired with an adjective, you know. An English example would be a large table. The second occasion is when the word for alter is paired with another noun, as an English example would be a coffee table. So coffee is describing the table, but coffee is a noun. It's not an adjective, right? Large, big, small, old, expensive, cheap. Those are adjectives, okay? But this is another noun. So Hebrew handles that in a different way than we do in English. So grammar-wise, that would be noun plus adjective versus noun plus noun. When that latter occurs, when this one occurs, the vowel markings, and thus the pronunciation, change slightly, and the technical term for this is called the construct state, or smichut. It's very common. And he then asked the other question, does this occur with any other letters? I'll just make this really quick. Yeah, if a chet is at the end of a word, generally that's the case. Sometimes happens with ayin, and also if you see a hey at the end of a word. I'm not going to give examples because it just takes too much time, but we'll hit it when we run into them. A hey with a dot at the end, which generally means her, or it has to do with belonging to her. Those do that. I said the most frequent is with words ending in het, and here's some examples. The word ruach, wind, spirit, breath. Chalkboard, a luach, also can mean a table, like luach hazmanim, timetable. Liftoach, to open. Lanuach. So you look at it, you can say lanucha. That's what it looks like, but that's not. So this up here looks like rucha. It's not. So this is this idea of this furtive patach, as I said, is right here. That's what this grammar point is called, and it's fairly common. So in modern Hebrew, lenapeach, to inflate, lenapeach. So you see that how this works out. So it's the vowel is being pronounced prior to the final consonant, and that happens frequently with chet, and sometimes with ayin.
Nice.
Like take the word Yeshua, right, as a name. All right, it does that, and then this dot that you'll see in a hey at the end of a word. So, okay. We have crossed the line with this parsha into the third book of the Torah, known as Vayikra, also in English Leviticus, from the word Levi, which has to do with priests. That's where Leviticus comes from. I used to think it's maybe something related to diverticulitis or something, but no, it's not. And there are some key things that this particular portion brings out. We talk about the sacrifices and offerings that show up. So you have an olah, you have a mincha, we have a shlamim, we have chatat. And then another theme that comes out in this parsha is the idea of holiness and sanctity. Now, these are not these are kind of alien subjects to us today. The whole idea of what's called tuma, impurity, and tahara, purity. These were really understood 2,000 and 3,000 years ago, but today we don't really relate to it very much. But it comes up a lot. Interestingly enough, in this concept of holiness and sanctity, when young Jewish children in yeshiva, and I'm talking about when they're learning to read, uh, they don't start with the book of Genesis. They start with the book of Leviticus. And one of the reasons the sages bring that out is because we have these pure souls of children, these innocent tamim. We used the word tamim earlier in the Torah portion about the young bull sacrifice. So these young, pure children, we want to connect them with the text that it deals with the subject of purity and holiness. So the book of Leviticus emphasizes that, and I'm not going to touch on it now, but because it's going to come out later in different texts. And then we run into, the priestly duties that are mentioned here. So moving on, let's just talk for a second about the different types of sacrifice that are mentioned in here. The purpose of an olah, a burnt offering, is one's complete devotion to Hashem. It's offered voluntarily by individuals, or the community can also do that, and it's entirely consumed upon the altar. Cattle, goats, sheep, even birds can be utilized for that. A mincha offering is a meal offering. It's not mixed with blood, like some people have tried to infer. It's for expressing gratitude and dedication. Also, it can be used in some circumstances when a person couldn't afford something else. All right. And there's two aspects to this. There's part of it that's taken by the priest using what's called a kmitza. And the kmitza is where he takes his hand like this and scoops with the three fingers and then wipes these fingers down. And that's the part that's mixed with the incense, or frankincense, whatever, and put on the altar. And then the remainder of the flour, the mincha offering, is consumed by the priest. It's not just the flour, like loose, unbaked flour. A person could also bring baked or even fried, which could be utilized as well. So a shlemim, which means basically complete. Also, the word shalem is related to the word shalom. Shalem means complete, whole, or entire. And shalom, obviously, you know that it means peace. So a peace offering is for a celebration, and it's shared between, there's part of it goes on the altar, part of it is given as meat for the priests, and then part of it's for the person that is offering it, and these portions are used for a festive meal. And then there's the sin offering, which everybody's pretty much aware of. And I wasn't aware of back in my Christian days, that the sin offering was for unintentional sins. And that comes out very clearly in Leviticus chapter 4, Leviticus chapter 5, that it's, for intentional sins, there's a different path that has to be pursued. Like if somebody steals something, right? It's not enough that you just feel bad about it and confess it. You have to make a restoration. So there are other physical aspects to getting the quote atonement for that. So in this case, it's for an unintentional thing, and it's brought when someone unknowingly violates a commandment. There are specific animals that are used for that, depending on the person's status. So it could be a cow, it could be a sheep, it could be a goat, it could be a bird, and also, like we said, also sometimes flour is often used. And then there's the final thing that's called the guilt offering, the asham, from the word Hashem, not Hashem, Hashem. And its purpose is for atonement for specific transgressions. This is a complicated one. I'm actually working on the Talmudic tractate known as Zvachim. It talks a lot about this. It's a complicated subject. It's not so simple. It's offered when somebody is actually uncertain about their guilt, if he's committed certain offenses. It's kind of I don't know if you want to call it hedging, but it's person's trying, is a conscience. He's trying to be very careful. And also, this can involve, in the circumstances, it can involve restitution. We said just a minute ago that it's not always just if somebody does certain things that, like stealing, it's not enough just to confess it and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, whatever. you have to make restitution and restore. Okay, so a couple things about, I want to just kind of wrap up with about the small aleph. You notice that when we began the reading earlier, we said Vayikra, and the aleph is smaller here. Now, throughout the Torah, you're going to find regular size letters, and you're going to find occasions where there's a small letter and a large letter. It's called, and they use the Aramaic rabati. So they'll say aleph rabati, or what's the word for small? The zrir, which is also Arabic, which means small. So there are some significances to it, and it's a longer subject than I want to go into, but I'll just give you a few things about it. The small aleph at the beginning of the word in the Parsha holds deep symbolism. There's been a lot of commentary on it. So it's obviously smaller than the others and makes us curious. So I said before that word order and the selection of terms is really intended to get our attention and make us ask questions and to delve deep into the meaning of what the Torah is trying to say to us. And we know that there are different levels. We talk about pshat, for example, they take the paradise, that there's the pshat, the simple meaning, there's the hinted meaning, there's the expository meaning, and then there's a more mystical meaning. All right, so for us here, we just want to deal with pshat. And the commentator Rashi, the medieval commentary from France, is really the consummate pshat expounder. Now, what is the numerical value of aleph? It's 1. And if we take the word aleph and we combine the value of its letters, just from the word, we say aleph, okay, here's the letter 1, but if we spell it all out, those letters, aleph, lamed, and fe, we comes to 111. And interestingly enough, that's the number of verses, the psukim, that are in this first parsha in Vayikra. Okay, not the whole book, obviously, but this first parsha has 111 verses in it. So that's an interesting little hint in itself. So this little aleph can maybe encapsulate the essential message of this portion. And there's some symbolism. The construction of the tabernacle was aimed to rectify the sin of the golden calf. A lot of people don't know that. They think it was just, Hashem said to Moshe, build this. But the purpose of building it was that the sin of the golden calf alienated the Jewish people from Hashem's presence. And so the building of the Mishkan was a gradual and graduated effort to bring them back, to bring Hashem's presence and the Jewish people back together. So after the sin, his presence left the Israelites, as I just said, and they had to build the Mishkan to bring it. So the word Mishkan comes from the word shochen, or shechina, the presence of Hashem. That's what the root meaning here. So it unfolded gradually. They couldn't receive the divine presence all at once. We had cases, and we see this in other parts of TaNaCh, where in the presence of Hashem, people fell down. The sages tell us that people, actually died and were brought back to life by appearing in Hashem's presence. Like someone leaving a dark room, gradual adjustment to the light was necessary. And the small aleph symbolizes God appearing to Moshe on a lower level of prophecy. Now, we see throughout TaNaCh, throughout the Torah, Hashem dealing with Moshe and saying, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. But when it comes to the prophets, we say, Ko amar Hashem, thus said the Lord. And so there are different levels of engagement in prophecy. There's Hashem spoke to Moshe, panim al panim, like a man speaks to his friend, all right? That panim al panim doesn't mean literal face-to-face, okay? But it's a quality of communication. Whereas with the prophets, Hashem would appear to them in a dream, or they have a vision, or something like that. It was a different level of prophecy. Moshe was a very unique prophet. So for the building of the Mishkan, it represents a gradual return, allowing time for adjustment. And Rashi mentions that the word Vayikra is what's known as Lashon Chiba. Chiba has to do with the word like hugging. That's the root meaning of it. Lechabek, Chiba, signifying, and a hub. This is an Aramaic word. I'm thinking it through because I speak and still remember a lot of Arabic from when I used to live in Saudi Arabia. So hub is the Arabic word for love and affection, And so this is from the Aramaic, and it has to do with that. The significance of it here is that Hashem's coming to Moshe in an approach, a loving approach. You have to remember, this sin of the golden calf was a very traumatic episode in the life of the children of Israel coming up out of Egypt and in the desert, and it caused enormous damage. 3,000 people died, but it created this huge rift just after receiving the tablets. It's quite scary. The small Aleph also hints at this intimate connection between Hashem and Moshe. And in summary, it carries profound meaning. You can look it up. You can even use AI if you want to find out more about this little Aleph. So coming back to where we are, the last thing I want to say is many, many, many years ago, when I was first starting out in my own Jewish journey, and I joined a Reform congregation and actually had my first conversion to Judaism was through Reform. I call that Judaism light. I was like, if Judaism's a house, I'm living on the porch. But within 6 months of being part of that congregation in Southern California, I was designated as the weekly Parsha teacher, which to me is like totally ironic, because I had all these people sitting around the table on Shabbat morning who would come. Now I say all, there were probably 15 or 20 of us, right, out of a congregation of a few hundred. Most people joined and were members, but they only showed up twice a year. But there was this little gaggle of
ducks,
gaggle of Hasidim, as it were, yes, that came for the Parsha study. We talked for an hour, hour and a half, and then we'd have like a 20-minute prayer service. And when we came to this time of the reading cycle, the reading year, there was a religious practices chairperson. I won't mention her name. She was kind of elderly at the time, so I don't even know if she's still with us in this realm. But she said to me, I'll never forget it. She said, the book of Leviticus, Sefer Vayikra, has no relevance for today. So let's study the book of Proverbs, because Judaism is really all about ethics. So what did I know? I'd been 6 months in this congregation, and she was a descendant of a very great sage in her ancestry. And she was the religious practices chairperson, had been a teacher in a day school for many, many years. And she came originally from an Orthodox background, but she'd become, more liberal as she grew older. And I thought, okay, fine. So we studied the book of Proverbs. But do you realize that one of Judaism's greatest themes is, and we'll come to it in chapter 19, that says, V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You shall, when we usually translate, you love your neighbor as yourself. There are other great themes that will show up here that are definitely ethical, that are very much not just between the Jewish people and Hashem and some kind of ritual. We're going to talk about that word as the final thing here. But there's a real soul connection here, not just ritualistic activities. All right, liturgy, I guess, is what we would call it from the Latin. So I do find, and I've in my library, I have a number of commentaries, excellent commentaries in the book of Leviticus, not only dealing with the Pshat, but also dealing with what are the things that we can draw out from it. I wish I could just pull, I have some things on my shelf here right above me. I wish I could pull out, but they're all in Hebrew. So I guess it gives us incentive. The last thing I want to say is about this word spiritual. I understand why the religious practices chairperson didn't want to focus on the ritual. I get that. But we have to realize that there's two spheres here. There's the spirit side of things, and there's the physical side of things that translates into ritual. Now, what's interesting, if you take the word spiritual in English and look at it very carefully, you'll see those two words in that one word. There's the word spirit, and there's the word ritual. They're integrated. You need both, because according to Judaism, we live in the world of doing. Okay, so it's not just about escaping from the world, to be part of the world because the world is ungodly. No, the world, according to Psalm 24, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Okay, it belongs to Hashem. He put us all of us. He put all of us here, Jew, non-Jew, and we're here to say thank you. He gives us things for foods. He gives us so many different blessings every day, and we're here to say thank you. So there's spirit, there's ritual. We put them together. That's what creates spirituality. So when I run into people that say, "Well, I don't believe in organized religion," so I think, "Oh, you believe in disorganized religion, right?" So, no. It's not either or. It's both and. We need both. And especially for the Jewish people, because we have this tendency to wander, right? To wander off. We need the ritual like Pesach, Passover, and other things, all the Sukkot with the booth. You see all this physicality, Hanukkah menorah, many at the mezuzah on the door, guys putting on tefillin in the morning, the phylacteries, etc., the prayer shawls with the tzitzit. There's so much physicality involved in this because we need the visual reference points to remind us. And the Torah tells us, pen tishkach, lest you forget. And we have this natural ability to do that. It's amazing how quickly the gravity of temptation could cause us to roll down the hill in spite of all the progress we might have made. And so the ritual that's involved helps us to hold our position, hold our ground in terms of what we've gained, spiritually speaking. The main thing, though, is to not lose focus and to constantly remember, why am I doing this thing that I'm doing? Okay, what's the purpose of it? How am I being connected both between myself and Hashem and myself and other people? Because that's what it's all about, Alfie. You thought it was the hokey pokey. It's not.
It's not the hokey pokey.
All right. It's
That's
about
funny.
being connected to Hashem. That's what the word mitzvah means at its core. It doesn't mean just commandment. It means a connection point. So that's what we're talking about here. All right. Thank you very much, William, for your
beautifully said,
wonderful
my brother.
guiding for us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you same time, same place, Hashem willing, next week. Take care, everybody. Shalom, my friend. And I guess I better probably click up the right sign. Bye, guys.
Shalom, my dear friends. Hope this message finds you well. If you like the way this channel is going, and the channel has been a blessing to you, please consider supporting the channel by going to the website, TaNaChTalk.com. TaNachTalk.com. Thank you once again for your time and for supporting TaNaCh Talk. Shalom.